statement is live free and get high. So a lot of it has to do with the government itself. They could be putting out positive messages like Nancy Reagan did, such as just say no. That's a wonderful message. Kids are not told just say no. Under Clinton, it became just say yes to everything. Everything immoral, everything illegal, and everything fattening. Just say yes. That's all. WJR, we have such good callers. WABC, Marco, I want to go to New York City. I don't want to deny you your moment in the air here. Marco, go ahead on the heroin problem.
Yeah, Mike, my story is ironic. Two comments. The way to battle the opiate addiction is it's mental, because it's actually, most opiate addicts do it for self-medication. As an ex-opiate addict, it actually is like a cure for depression and mental illness.
Well, slow down. I've heard this before. I've heard them say I'm sick and I need my medicine, and the heroin is their medicine. I've heard that before. But you and I both know that it's a central nervous system depressant, and it doesn't cure depression. It makes it much worse. Isn't that true?
No, actually, it makes you feel better than any antidepressant ever made out there.
Okay, but for how long? How long do you feel better for?
Well, it wears off like any other medicine, so you got to keep taking.
Right, but you got to take more and more to maintain the same high, correct?
Yeah, for the problem, it works right away instead of 4 to 6 weeks like a regular antidepressant.
I understand that, but what happens when it wears off? Then you have to raise the amount of drugs you take. You have to take more.
Up higher the dose, more milligrams. And
so how did you get off heroin? How did you get off heroin and depression? It sounds like you were as addicted to your depression as you were to the heroin.
Well, most addicts self-medicate, but the Suboxone, which is another pharmaceutical drug, which is an opiate.
I read it, right. I was speaking about naloxone at the beginning of the show. It blocks the opiate receptors. I understand that. Did that cure you? Did that eliminate the desire for heroin?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And how long have you been off drugs?
About a year.
All right. Thanks for your call. I mean, I had a friend. He's dead a long time. I don't bring him up over and over again, but he was a heroin addict who didn't bother anybody. He bought them. He didn't bother anybody. He worked for a living. He made a good living. I think he was a real estate broker. I don't know what he was. Way back when. He played tennis. No one even knew he was high on heroin all the time. And I would say to him, let's call him Bobby. I said, Bobby, why do you use that garbage? Why do you use the garbage? You're playing tennis. And he would say, I want to prove that I can beat people on heroin. You know, he always had a sarcastic sense of humor. I love the guy. He was one of the sweetest guys I ever knew. The point I'm making is not every heroin addict is an evil person. I want to make that very clear. Not every addict is evil. Do you understand that? I come from a different milieu than you may expect. And I understand people in a way you may not expect, from where you think your vantage point is, oh, he's a conservative. He hates everyone he uses. He's no good. He's like this one. He's like, no, don't over-categorize. Don't over-generalize about anybody. You better listen carefully to anybody, including me, to understand who they are if you want to take the time to do so. I mean, today we could talk about the Hillary thing in New Hampshire and this and that, and I'll do it. And we're going to get the results. They're coming in the latest polls. Are they updated yet from what I had before, guys? Polls. Yeah, something newer about the same. Trump 33, Rubio 14, Kasich 17, Celia Cruz 10, Bush Boy 9, Christie 8, Fiorina who? 3, and poor old Ben number 1. I mean, at number 1%, or at 1 whatever. He has nothing. 0, gunished. So Trump is ahead of everyone by 16 points. What more do you need to know? He got hard, not soft, and he went up. See, I told him don't get soft. I said get hard. And it's on the communist side, the Commie Party USA, CPUSA, which you call a Democrat primary in New Hampshire, Sanders 53 and Clinton 44. How she takes this abuse, I don't know. Can she not understand that no one likes her? Does she get it that when they'd rather go for an old, used-up communist like Sanders over her, what does that tell the geniuses running the Democrat Party? That maybe you picked the wrong one because she's tried so many times before? Does that mean now she's entitled to be the president? We didn't have her as president for 8 years. We didn't have enough of her. I'll be back.
Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing.
God, do I remember the Beatles name?
Oh, I get by.
Everyone sing along and ask yourself how we became such a sad sack nation. You can thank all your musician friends. Oh, I get high with a little help from my friend. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friend. Do. No, there's no relationship between the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and the sad state of the West. No, there's no relationship whatsoever. None whatsoever. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. The movies have nothing to do with it. No, not at all. Ratzenberg. Nothing to do with the drug epidemic. Nothing to do with the violence epidemic. Nothing to do with the weakness epidemic. Nothing to do with the rise of the scum of the earth called ISIS. No, they have nothing to do with it. Their hands are as clean as you can imagine. So let's talk about New Hampshire. ABC, polls plus forecast. Trump has a 69% chance of winning. That was 7 hours ago. I'd raise it by 6. Rubio has about a 9% chance of winning. Commie Sanders, better than a 99% chance of winning. And old Clinton has less than 1% chance of winning. End of story. Move on. There's nothing to see here. It's over. Now, can we move on now to maybe the next idiotic state primary? How long does this go on? How many years does this go on? This is like Guns N' Roses. This is like the eternal entertainments of ancient Rome. This is our entertainments like ancient Rome. On and on to the next state of idiots with balloons and pizza pies and frankfurters and apparatchiks running around with balloon hats, knuckleheads, knockwurst heads. How can you take this anymore? Can we please have the election? This is very much like the appeals process in our courts, where no one is ever found permanently guilty. The appeals go on for 30 years. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we just have elections run for 10 years? That way the networks can make a lot of money.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
That's another addiction.
They're at the post.
There they are, at the post in New England.
They're off. First to show
And
from
they're
them.
off. And it's
That's
Trump
fine,
ahead by
Mr.
16
Billionaire.
and the bottom of the
Go
snip.
back to your
Yeah,
big
right,
time
I'll get it.
stop. See our big time stop.
And there's Hillary falling behind and falling on her. Lock of John Lennon's hair expected to fetch $10,000 at auction. What a crazy world we live in. A lock of hair snipped from the head of John Lennon as the Beatle had prepared for a film is expected to sell for $10,000 at a Dallas auction later this month. Wow. You know, this is a good test of the popularity of talk show hosts. Would be for all of us to offer a lock of our hair and see how much money we could raise. Now we can finally once and for all decide who the winner is. I mean, I keep saying, based on the TSL, that I'm number one in streaming talk radio, which is true. I don't make it up. They polled 9 million different, and I'm number one by a long margin. But I don't know that my hair would bring more than number two. $10,000 for a snippet of hair. I'm thinking of cutting my hair. I wonder what that would be worth. Probably 10 cents if anyone wanted it at all. Think of all the hair that I left on barbershop floors. What it would be a fortune today if I could go back and get it. Parades and floats and costumes mark Fat Tuesday in New Orleans. Ugh. People across New Orleans are marking the culmination of the Mardi Gras season, another great holiday. To eat like a pig and get drunk like a sot and walk around like an idiot. Mardi Gras, another great holiday. People across New Orleans Tuesday are making the culmination of the Mardi Gras with elaborate floats and costumes and marching. Does anyone work in New Orleans? Does anyone have a job in New Orleans? How do they do this? The day kicks off with the Crewy of Zulu parade, put on by the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. The parade dates back to roughly 1910. So if you want to see the Zulu parade, you can go to New Orleans and catch the Zulu parade. Or if you want to get stoned or you want to walk around and get mauled, go to New Orleans at 2 o'clock in the morning. I happen to love New Orleans, but I would never go there for Mardi Gras personally. The Skull and Bone Gang. Oh, really? There are other events at Mardi Gras taking place across the city. The Northside Skull and Bone Gang? Well, wait a minute. Skull and Bone Gang? Are the Bushes going to be there? That means Bush has to take time out from the campaign to go to New Orleans for Fat Tuesday to be with the Skull and Bone Gang. The Mardi Gras Indian tribes are another tradition in the city. Members of the tribes spend months preparing elaborate costumes. Again, a question for you. They have nothing better to do? I'm sitting here wasting the last few years of my life with every breath trying to make sense, trying to save America, and they have nothing to do, make costumes for 3 months. How do they make a living? Yeah, can anyone explain this to me, how a tribe can spend months preparing elaborate costumes. It sounds like it's the second grade. All right, boys and girls, we're going to make native costumes today for the next 2 months. In Japan, they're already doing calculus in the third grade. Here, they're making costumes of the Native American and learning to be a Muslim for the day. Okay, what can you say? The revelry of Fat Tuesday is over. Wednesday marks the beginning of Lent, a solemn period of penance. Yeah, right. It's a solemn period of penance. It's a period of hangover, not a period of penance. In the beginning of Lent, it follows they're like sick for 3 weeks from what they went through there. All right, to each his own. You don't work for a living. You're a Democrat. Good for you. Live free and get high. Trump and Sanders look to emerge from New Hampshire with wins. That's almost a guarantee. That's all. Fat Tuesday we covered. Japanese stock slide leads global markets lower. They don't know what the stock slide. They're putting on costumes in Mardi Gras. You think they know what a stock is? They've never heard of a stock. They have no idea. Stock, this. They don't even know who the president is. They say he's a nice guy who gives them money to do nothing but make costumes. Some guy in the White House who smiles at him and gives them enough money they never have to work a day in their life. The drugs flow freely. The food is free. And they get a nice welfare check. And they can make a costume. That's all they know. But what do you know, Joe? WDRC. What do you know, Joe? Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, Michael. As a long-distance trucker, going to New Hampshire and Vermont used to be extremely safe. You felt comfortable spending the night. Now a lot of my fellow drivers are getting robbed. Anytime I go up there, I go to spend the night, I constantly get woken up by people trying to sell me radios, watches, guitars, and it's sad to say women trying to sell a little services there. Everybody needs money up there. I have to attribute...
Wait, you mean at a truck stop Lizard?
Yes, sir. Even in rest areas, people are always stopping, and they'll be in some microbus, and they're trying to sell you their guitar or a watch.
Oh my! So what do you mean? They're like hippie lizards now? Are the geckos coming out of the vans?
Yeah, and I grew up in New Hampshire, Vermont. It used to be a very peaceful, conservative state. I think when Ben and Jerry and Bernie moved up there, the state started to...
Yeah, Ben and Jerry, in my opinion, poisoned the country with their ice cream. But that's why they're such good liberals. How many heart attacks do you think result from eating that stuff day and night? I heard they're going to make a new flavor called the Bernie Sanders cone. You know what's in it? Just asking the question gives you the answer. It's funny. I don't have an answer yet, but it could be funny. Let's put it out on the air for those of you who have a good sense of humor. If you were to recommend to Ben and Jerry's a new ice cream flavor called the Bernie, what would be in the flavor? I know what I'd put in it, but it wouldn't be a family-friendly show that I can do. All right, but your main point is that it's gotten dangerous because of the drug addicts. Is that it?
I have to believe that's the case because no one used to ever bother you. You could just spend the night parking a rest area. No one would ever even wake you up. Now people are, it could be any hour of the night. Someone will bang on your door and ask if you got any money or they're trying to sell you something.
Oh, my God.
Some drivers have been robbed.
New Hampshire used to be a clean, beautiful state. When did it change? Roughly what year? What were the years that it changed, in your opinion?
I would say at least over the past 10 or so.
Darn, we can't blame Obama. Ah, nuts.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for the call. No, I'd be foolish to tell you I believe that it's his fault. I told you it started with Bush opening up the superhighways. Excuse me. It goes back to Clinton with NAFTA, so we know where this began. Now we have an addiction doctor who tells us where addiction comes from. That's the important thing. Let's go to Pennsylvania WSBA Radio, my local affiliate. Joe, welcome to the Savage Nation, Dr. Joe. Tell us, you are an addiction doctor. Where does the problem come from?
Well, there's three problems. One, it's a biochemical problem with dopamine in the pleasure center of the limbic system deep in the brain. The second one is it's a psycho-spiritual problem where people hate themselves, and it leads to total lack of morality when they're under the influence. And the third thing is it's generally self-medication of some other mental health problem.
So, okay, I accept all of that, but how do you... Let me put it, is the soft approach the only answer? Treatment and holding their hand, telling them they're a victim?
No, it's not about telling them they're a victim. It's about trying to you have to do the biochemical thing, which is to detox them and to help them learn how to deal with their cravings and that sort of thing. From the spiritual standpoint, there is some hand-holding with that. It's not where you basically say everything that you did while you're under the influence is okay. What you're saying is that in spite of the fact that you did all these crazy things, you can still redeem yourself by getting clean and sober. And the only long-term treatment really is either sobriety or, in the case of opiate addicts, sometimes